Hi, everyone. My name is Josh Hanish, and I am with 329. We are diving in heavily into ADA compliance. It's been on our mind for probably the last 2 or 3 years, as we have actually had clients get sued for their website not being in compliance. We didn't design those websites, we hosted them, they were designed by someone else, but we have been through the process, and it is not fun, and it's expensive, and it's very stressful. And we are doing our part to make sure that business owners in California, especially, know what the liabilities are out there for your digital storefront. A lot of businesses really just focus on their physical storefront. And I think we forget that the internet is a whole other marketplace. It is a whole other world, you could say. And we all, as business owners, have a storefront on the internet, and it has to be accessible, just like our physical locations. When someone is building a new office or renovating an old space for their current office, they talk with their contractor, with their architect, to make sure that it is ADA accessible or ADA compliant, because obviously lawsuits can happen if a ramp is not at the right angle, or a bathroom is not big enough, or a door opens the wrong way. And those contractors and architects can advise you on what needs to be what and where things need to be put. And I think a lot of people forget that, just like real estate developers, there are website developers. And even though we deal in the virtual space, we are experts in what should be in your website, how it should be built, and what needs to be there for compliance. And I think that gets forgotten. I think that, big buildings, storefronts, easy to see, you can touch, you can feel them. But websites, obviously, you can see them, but you can't touch them, you can't feel them, and you don't necessarily have a full appreciation for what it's like to not be able to access a website. So ADA compliance is something that we take very seriously at 329, and it's how we start all of our web builds, because business owners don't know what they don't know. And a lot of them don't know about ADA web compliance. And it is way easier to keep a website compliant that was built with compliance in mind from the very beginning than it is to take a site that was not built with compliance in mind and try to turn it into a website that is compliant. So first, before we get into the Assembly bill or the Senate bill, I just want to make sure that if you are building a new website right now, please make sure that you talk to your designer, your developer, and make sure that they have compliance in mind. The other thing is that we've learned over the last probably year and a half is that having a third-party app site for ADA compliance is not enough to make it ADA compliant. It definitely takes care of some of the compliance, but as I'm gonna get to in a little bit, you actually need manual review and manual remediation on a website on a monthly, could be quarterly basis. So if you go talk to your designer or your developer and like, oh, it's fine, we have this like third-party app on there, that's not going to be enough, especially with this new law. So Law AB 1757 is a law that basically steps the game up in terms of what a business has to do to make sure that their website is ADA compliant. Before, basically a plaintiff would have to say that they can prove that the business was doing it intentionally, so that they would bring a state, or they'd bring a suit to the business And a lot of times businesses would get pressured into settling because they didn't know what the laws were actually saying. But there were over 2,000 lawsuits between California and New York, which are the most litigated states for ADA compliance in the country. And they're also the ones that usually follow suit. I'm sorry, they're the ones that set the precedent, and the other states usually follow suit. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is going to be rolled out across all of the states in a matter of years. So basically, what would happen before this law is attorneys, like predatory attorneys, would find websites that were not ADA compliant, according to these guidelines that I'll get into in just a second. And they would send demand letters. And these demand letters were very scary. They are very scary. I've seen them. I've talked to attorneys who get them weekly from their clients. And it basically makes the business owner feel like they don't have a leg to stand on to defend themselves. And most times they actually don't. And so they end up settling. And settlements can be from $10,000 all the way up into the high six figures. Some Fortune 500 companies have been sued for millions of dollars. So that was basically the burden of proof, was that you had to prove that the business owner did it intentionally. Well, not a lot of business owners knew that, so they just saw this and well, yeah, we didn't follow these guidelines, and so they would settle. With this new law, in the law, it actually says that the website has to comply with the very specific guidelines. So the guidelines are basically, it's an international consortium. It's the WCAG. And the law says that they have to conform to the WCAG 2.1, which is a very stringent mark to hit. And there's different levels, and the level is AA. And so it is now a huge burden on business owners to make sure that their website is ADA compliant. And the law, since it says that the website has to meet that guideline, that's all the evidence that plaintiff needs to sue a business. They don't have to prove that it was done intentionally. It's just, if the font contrast with the background throughout the site is not great enough, then a business owner could get sued. Or if you're missing alt tags on your images, a business could get sued. And those are just the easy ones. I mean, ADA compliance, 99% of the sites that we see are not ADA compliant. So I'm basically wanting to put this information out there so that business owners can know how to protect themselves and just ask the right questions. So, like I said, there's been over 2,000 lawsuits just in the last year. And those are demand letters that go to litigation, go to court, and have a judgment. By our estimations, there's probably over 50,000 demand letters that get sent out annually. And those demand letters are scary enough, and they're written well enough that a business owner has to settle. In fact, we've been talking with attorneys, and a lot of attorneys feel like it's easier just to settle than it is to comply with their demands. But that's not correct, because, okay, you settle, that problem goes away, but your website's still not compliant. And businesses get targeted a second and third time. The goal is to start having your website be compliant from the very beginning. If it's not, then reach out to us, reach out to whoever built your website and say, look, like, this is a huge liability for my business. I want to make sure that we are compliant. It needs to be checked on regularly, and it should just be a part of your website hosting and your SEO, like your search engine optimization. So I don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but I do like to educate business owners. As a business owner myself, I want to know the liabilities that are out there that I'm not addressing. And for me, if I wasn't in web development and marketing, I wouldn't know about this. And I would really appreciate it if someone had told me about it. So this is me telling you about this. And if you would like to talk further about this, you can message me on LinkedIn. You can shoot me an email. We can set up a time and do a free audit on your site and tell you where the problem areas are and what it would take to fix it. Again, this is not just something that we can do. You can talk to other web development agencies and marketing companies. If they come back and tell you, no, your site's fine, get a second opinion. If they come back and tell you, oh, you're fine, we put this third-party accessibility app on your website, 1 out of 5 businesses that have those on their site get sued. That is not the cure for this. The cure is having a website that is properly set up for ADA compliance. So again, just take some time, do a little bit of homework, talk to some people that you trust, and make sure that you fully understand what the liabilities are for your business around this law. And like I've said in other webinars, there are tax credits available to help you pay for this. You can get up to $5,000 a year in tax credits if your company has less than 30 employees or does less than $1 million in revenue. Again, for my last webinar, your business could do $10 million in revenue and you could get the $5,000 back every year if you had less than 30 employees. So I'm here to help. This is something that I'm very passionate about, as well as my business partner, Kevin Howe, and our whole development team. We have some really exciting updates that we're going to be sharing in the next few weeks and months around what we're doing to help protect business owners and to basically give them the confidence and allow them to sleep at night that their website is not going to cause them unnecessary harm in the form of a ridiculous suit being brought against them. So stay tuned for those updates. We're really excited to announce them. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for watching. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.